y'all, so we're gonna try this and I'm gonna show you how to be making a set of Mickey or Minnie Mouse ears, homemade. They are sewn ones, so you will need a sewing machine. Items that you're going to need are a color for a bow, your material that you're going to make your ears out of, a good pair of scissors, some pens, a marker, and to be able to make the size of the bows or the ears, a template. We used a bowl to be able to make those, and then the size of a coaster with enough cut out to be able to place them on the ears and sit firmly. And then also the batting that goes on the ears to make them nice and stiff, a tape measure, and a hot glue gun, because you do glue some with the hot glue gun. So to make the inside of the ear, what you're going to do is you're going to grab your coaster and you're going to grab some craft glue and put the glue all over it. And then you're going to take your batting and you're actually going to put the batting on the ear and be able to have it in the same size. And this is what it should turn out like. You have the cardboard and the batting as well, and that is the perfect size for the ear when you actually stuff the ears inside. So this tacky glue is actually what we use. We put it on the cardboard and then we put the matting on there. The batting goes on both sides, and it's best to wait for 24 hours for it to dry, so that it actually gives it a stiffer feeling and it doesn't feel like it's going to bend or flop around while you're wearing your ears. Okay, so the first thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna grab your template and then you're going to put it down on your material, okay? Remember that you need 2 of these to be able to complete at least 1 ear. And then you're gonna take your marker and you're just going to mark around in a circle. Where you're going to be able to cut the fabric out to create the ear. And then once you cut that out, you should have 2 separate pieces for 1 ear. Make sure that they are pinned with the pattern towards themselves or inside out, because you are going to sew and then flip the pattern inside out to be able to create the ear with the pattern on the outside. All right, so when you sew, you want to have at least 3-finger width open at the bottom so that you can stuff the ears. Make sure that your pattern is upside down so that you start towards the top and work your way around, and that way the opening, so when you flip it right side up to have the ears, that they are correct. And make sure you back stitch, that is really important. All right, so I make sure that the edge of my foot is at the edge of the material so that when I'm sewing, it gives at least enough clearance for the ear to be able to be stuffed. And it seems to be the right size for the stuffing. And then make sure that you back stitch at the end. Okay, now that we have it sewn, there is a width opening so that you can actually go ahead and see. But what we're gonna do is we're actually going to cut a little bit of this excess off so that it doesn't dimple the ears once they're flipped inside out. You can either cut this away, or you can make wedge cuts in it to be able to prevent dimpling of the ears where there's too much fabric gathered for them. If you want to do a wedge cut, you can actually just go in and create little wedges along the outside. Just be careful not to cut where you have just sewn, and you can create these little triangle wedges all the way around, leaving it a little bit longer. And then you can just take it and you're going to roll it and just flip it inside out. Use your finger on the inside and just smooth it. And that's the beginning of the ear that's not stuffed. Okay, now we're going to take our foam portion of the ear and we're actually going to stuff it inside of our ears now. So if you you don't want to make too large of an opening, otherwise it's not going to fit right when you put it on the headband. So it is okay, these are pretty stiff. We've bent most of them to stuff them inside, and they tend to flatten out fairly well and be able to hold their shape. So I'm actually going to just bend it slightly, and I'm going to take it and just stuff it inside of the ear. Okay. And then just flatten it out. We do use a lightweight batting found at Joann's. It's about $6.99 for the yard, which has so far created it's created about 15 pairs of ears for that 1 yard. It is about 1/4 of an inch thick. If you want something thicker or bigger, puffier ears, you can double up on the batting to be able to create a larger, thicker ear if you like large ones. And then that is what the ear looks like once it's stuffed. Once it's stuffed and you have it on there, you can use different types of finishings, beads, kind of like little dingle balls. I mean, I've seen a ton of things, sequins, jewels. People just use rope. I haven't used any of those yet. I just leave mine plain and I just add a really nice bow to it. So next step will be to actually hot glue them together. So once you get to this part, you don't actually need to sew it anymore. It is all hot glue from here on out. You just want to be able to sew this so it makes it nice and stiff, and it gives it a good seal. Okay, for the hot gluing part, what you're gonna do is you're going to, this is a high temp one. I just used my small one. It makes a little bit more accurate, so it's not everywhere. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just squeeze a line inside on the actual batting itself, and then fold down one of the sides. Fold it down and just make it kind of flat so that it sits on top of itself. Doesn't take very long for it to cool down. So once that happens, I'm going to take the opposite side, and I'm going to tuck it in on itself to the side that you just tucked in. And then up at the very top, I'm going to actually put a couple lines of hot glue, and then I'm going to hot glue it to the opposite side. And then just down. Be careful of your fingers. You will get some burns. And then I just go ahead and I squeeze, trying to make it as flat as possible for when you connect it to the headband. You want it to be able to be nice and flat so that you have something to glue onto the headband and that they're not just kind of flopping around. I think that's a lot of mistake that some people make when they say that their ears are too floppy. It's because they're not holding really much onto the headband, so they need something to stabilize it. So we have an ear finished, and I have a headband. These ones I bought from the dollar store. They are already covered in like a silk material. I do have a couple like the BB-8 that I'm wearing that I did take the material and I actually covered the headband because the color of the headband didn't match the color that I was doing with the ears. So once this is finalized, the seam that you just created is going to go towards the back. So you're going to take some hot glue and you're going to make a couple lines on there. And from the center of the headband, You want to do 3 fingers, and then you're going to place it on there, and then just take, and I like to just squeeze it down to make sure, again, that as much of the fabric is coming in contact with the headband to be able to make it. If you see any open spots that need to be glued, put a couple dots of glue on there, and then again, push it down, making sure that there is good contact. And you will get some glue on you. While it's warm, just rub it off. A lot of it will be covered by a bow or by embellishments that people have put on there. And if I was to shake this, it is not moving as much as one that doesn't have as much contact to the headband. Put a couple more dots on there just to make sure that it's on, glued. Just hold it down, kind of like a clamp. Make your fingers a clamp of it. And there you go. Now it is not moving. So that is the beginning of the Minnie Mouse headbands. As you can tell on this one, I did make some markers. So at the very center, 3 fingers is roughly where it is. I have measured these against an actual Disney park ears that I had bought for my my last trip, and they are exactly about 3 finger widths from the center to have the proper alignment of the ears. Once you get both ears on there, okay, that is what the back looks like. And this is what it would look like if you add a bow. I do make my own bows as well. They are stuffed with a old pillow that we tore apart for the stuffing. To make them a little more stable, we did actually tack them down onto the ears. This is what the pillow stuffing looks like. So once you have the bow made, you just stuff it and you hot glue it onto your ears. And that is what a finished headband looks like to be able to take to Disney World with you, or Disneyland.